What does that even mean, Bowers Game Corner?
Ahoy there, YouTube! I'm back again today for another game review. Today we're excited to check out Super Munchkin from Steve Jackson Games. This is for 3 to 6 players. Age is 10 plus. It'll take about 1 to 2 hours to play. And in Super Munchkin, it is your typical Munchkin where you're going to be taking control of a superhero trying to get from level 1 to level 10 by upgrading your hero, having sidekicks, fighting monsters, and potentially backstabbing your opponents. Is it more Munchkin goodness? I don't know. Let's open it up and I'll tell you. Alrighty then, we're going to take a look at what you're going to get inside of Super Munchkin. First and foremost, we have a handy dandy rulebook. It's 3 pages, double-sided, full color. Got pictures, illustrations, humorous artwork, and it's got a good sense of humor to it. Very well done, as it should be, because they've done like 15, 20 expansions to the game. So in Super Munchkin, this is just like every other version of Munchkin. You were going to be starting off as a lowly superhero and trying to get to level 10 by fighting monsters, gaining treasure, and avoiding curses, and potentially helping your other opponents defeat monsters. So I'm going to go over very loosely how the game is played. If you're looking for a more in-depth description of how Munchkin is played, I'll be sure to post around here my review of the original Munchkin, where I go really into the nuts and bolts of how the game works. But this video is going to be more so focused for the people who are looking to as adding this to an expansion, because every version of Munchkin can be mashed together. So you can have Super Munchkin mixed with Steampunk Munchkin, mixed with Zombie Munchkin, all the other different versions of Munchkin. So we'll get into the components, we'll get into the gameplay, and then we'll get into what's new in this version of Munchkin. First and foremost, you're going to have cards, and more cards. You're going to have 2 kinds of cards as per normal. You are going to have your treasure cards, which will have all good things. You might have equipment you can wear, like the wishing ring, or you might have something that's going to instantly give you a level, or you might have boots that you're going to be able to boots that shoot. Headgear, lots of various different things. Also sidekicks, which is something new to this game. I'll talk about those in a little bit. So those are going to be in the treasure pile. Whenever you draw from the treasure pile, it's always going to be good. You're going to draw from the treasure pile when you defeat a monster, which is going to be in the door pile over here. And the door pile is going to, might have good stuff like this, like powers or classes, which you'll be able to equip to yourself. But most of them are going to be monsters, or these times like thugs. So we got the Triplicate Twit. So let's take a look at him. He's a level 9, which means you're going to need at least a power of 10 to defeat this guy. But if you can do it, he's going to give you 3 treasure, and they go all the way up to 20, I do believe. So there's from 0 to 20. Some of them will have what are called traps. Those are just curses for those of you used to regular Munchkin. And it'll tell you lose a power, lose a level, lots of various other different things like that. So let's go over exactly how the game is played, and then we will go over the new things that you're going to get us. Oh, almost forgot the D6 die, which is included in every version of Munchkin. This one's blue, and it has the little Munchkin symbol as opposed to the 1. So let's go over what you're going to do in the game. First thing when you start off, you're going to get 4 treasure cards, and you are going to get 4 door cards. You're going to take a look at your cards and play whatever you can in front of you. So let's see what I got going on here. I got some foot gear I'll be able to add, so that we can put that down right there. And so now I've got +2 bonus. I have got, ooh, that's nice. I've got a radioactive aura. Yeah, there we go. So it's going to give me a +3, 8 bonus. However, you may not help anyone in combat or be helped, but still, in starting a game, that is very, very useful. I have a class. I can be a mystic, so that's great. This would be a fantastic hand to start with. So we've played out everything in front of us. Everybody else has done the same thing. And now we're going to go through the 3 phases of the game. The first phase is to kick open the door. When you kick open the door, what you're going to do is you're just going to, boom, flip over the first card that comes up. And we have been very lucky. It's almost like I set it up like this because we're going up against a level 1 monster. So all I would need is at least 2 in order to defeat the monster. And if I can do so, I am going to gain 1 treasure, as it says down at the bottom. Now, if I fail, bad stuff will happen. I'll have to run away. And if I fail to run away, bad stuff will happen. They mug you. Lose 1 item, so it's not even really that bad. Now this card is also special because it can be played to join in any other combat, and gets and the thugs get a +4 bonus. So that's kind of cool, but that's just specific to the card. There's lots of things like that that are very specific to the card. There's tons of text on the cards, but that's just Munchkin. So we would have this thing clobbered because we would be a level 1 when we first start the game, so we have 1 power mixed in with these 2, so we would have 11, which means we would be able to demolish this. Now other people could potentially play things to enhance enhance this or potentially play what's called a Wandering Monster card in order to add to this to make it so we'd have to be dealing with 2 bad guys as opposed to 1 bad guy. Most likely no one would do that. Now let's just pretend that this was, say, a level 13 instead. In that case, I would be asking people for help. I'd say, hey, can you help me? And if that's the case, they would negotiate. So they might say, all right, I want the 1 treasure, but you still gain the level, and then I will help you. And if that were the case, then I'd say, yeah, I'll take that. I don't really need the treasure right now, and I'd rather have the level because that's the way you win the game, at which point you would combine both of your powers, but people could still play things onto the monster or add more there so that you would not be able to defeat it. So let's just pretend that I was able to successfully defeat it. This would go into the discard pile, and I would gain my 1 treasure and put it into my hand. Hooray! I got usable by males only, and I'm a male, so this would be put into my hand, so I could successfully put that on there, and bada boom, I'd have a Batmobile. Now, let's pretend that I had not encountered a monster. Let's just say I had drawn this Sidekick, which we'll talk more about these guys later. So let's say I drew that. So now I have one of 2 choices. The first thing I can do is I can look for trouble. When you look for trouble, you play a monster out of your hand. So let's just say I had this monster in my hand. I could play this down and then just have another encounter. The other option that you have is that you can, what is it called? I don't remember what it's called at the top of my head, but you could draw the top card secretively and put it into your hand. No one else gets to see it, so if it's a curse or something like that, or a trap, as they're called in this game, it's not going to negatively impact you, and in fact, you can play it on people later in the game. But anywho, once your turn is up, you have what's called the charity phase, which is if you have more cards than you should in your hand, you have to discard those to people with lower levels than you. So in this, for instance, I would be a level 2, and everyone else would be a level 1, so I would have to give them my cards, but I can split them up how I see fit and give away cards as I see fit. But anywho, you're going to continue to go around facing monsters, potentially running away, having bad stuff happen to you until someone gets to level 10, at which point they're going to be the winner of Munchkin, or Super Munchkin in this example, and that in a nutshell is how the game is played. So let's talk about what is new in this version of the game. First and foremost, the new thing we have are going to be the sidekicks, which are interesting. They sell it out in front of you, and they will give you a special ability. Also, they're really cool, and they can you can sacrifice though if you need to later on in the game, and that is always useful. So this sidekick, the Plucky Girl Reporter, if you loot the room, you may draw 2 face-down doors, choose 1 to keep, and discard the other. So that one's really cool, so you can kind of pick out exactly what you want. So you can have sidekicks that are going to help you out, kind of thematic to the game. Those are all the classes. Last but not least, you can have a special power, which is going to go in addition to everything else. There's numerous different powers. They all have different ranks on them, and they're really cool and useful and thematic to the game as well. Not going to go too in-depth on those because there's tons and tons and tons of them who have different things. So next, let's look at the 4 new classes introduced into the game. The first class you're going to have is the Techno. He is the quick fix. When you lose an item to a trap or bad stuff, you may discard 3 cards instead and keep the item. And the miniaturization, any 2-hand item is only 1 hand for you. Not one I particularly enjoy using too much. Next, we have the Mutant, the Lab Rat. When you draw a face-up power, you may immediately open another door. When you draw a face-down power, you may choose to show it. If you do, draw a face-down door. Very useful. Next, the Mutant Might. You may discard a power card at any time to draw a face-down door. Next we have the Exotic. In combat, you may discard a single monster from your hand. Use its level instead of yours. It may not be enhanced. Very useful early game. Weird Weakness. When you face a monster whose name, not counting the, starts with the same letter as the current day of the week, you are at -6. And then Mystic. You may discard 2 cards to reroll any die roll you make. The original roll doesn't count, so pretty much just when you run away. For the most part, even though some cards do have you rolling. And then Sorcerer's Soul. Anytime you are killed, you may choose to lose a level instead of dying, which can be very useful as well. But those are the 4 new classes and the new sidekicks and powers introduced in the game, and that, in a nutshell, is Super Munchkin. Alright then, Super Munchkin from Steve Jackson Games. What are my final thoughts? Let's go pros, let's go for the cons. First, on the con side, the game's not going to be for everybody. If you don't like Munchkin, you're not going to like this. It's just as simple as that. It doesn't add enough new things here that are going to change anyone's mind. Also, there are a couple things you might have to go to the rules for if you integrate this with any other version of Munchkin. How the sidekicks and the powers work, stuff like that. They are minimal, though, and I really do like them, and I think they add to the base game, so I'm not going to complain about it, even though it is a little bit annoying that there are a couple more rules that you need to know. Also, the sense of humor in the game, if you do not like superheroes, it might just kind of go over your head. I definitely think that while it does kind of poke fun at superheroes and the superhero genre and all that sort of stuff, it's not the kind of thing, it's the kind of thing where if you like superheroes, you are going to eat this up, and if you dislike superheroes, which, I mean, really, who does, you're probably, well, just get this if you like superheroes. If you don't like superheroes, go get a different Munchkin. Other than that, just your typical Munchkin cons. I mean, it's a little bit too long, it's a little bit too convoluted, it's a little bit too take that. There's a lot of text on cards. But moving on to the pros, I really enjoyed Super Munchkin, and it's just more Munchkin. I mean, this is one of the ones that, if you like superheroes, I would instantly recommend just integrating into the game. It has a nice box insert, which I really like as well, which some of them do not have. That can probably hold about 3 copies, 3 different versions of Munchkin in there, and you can just mash them all together as long as you don't mind the different card backs. I like the artwork, good sense of humor in the game. It's not as great as some of the other Munchkin games that I've reviewed, but it still definitely does come across just solid. I mean, this is, if you like Munchkin and you like superheroes, it's a no-brainer. Go add this. It's a great expansion. If you don't, then go look elsewhere. So that is Super Munchkin, one that I can recommend. If you like Munchkin, if not, well, then steer clear. If you enjoyed this video, please be sure to click on the subscribe button down below, and in the comments below, let me know what would be the worst superhero power for you personally to have. For me personally, it'd be X-ray vision, because I'm a preschool teacher, and that's just creepy. But what's the worst superhero ability that you could have? And let me know in the comments below why. As always, thanks for your time, YouTube.